Good to see your smiling faces again this morning.
Good to see
Great
you.
to have you and your family here too.
Oh, thank you. That wasn't my plan. That's just like the message was saying. I can't imagine being 53 years old and having a 4-year-old. That's totally God's plan right there, because that wasn't mine. I figured by 53 all the kids be out of the house. I'm just getting started. Hey, how many of you guys ever listen to your wives? You guys listen? Oh, you do? Good for you. Oh, shoot.
Happy life.
I guess I'm the only one that doesn't. I don't always listen to her, but you know what? I should. She's been on me for about 3 months to read this book. And, you know, I have to have all kinds of excuses. I'm tired. I don't have time. I fall asleep when I read. And so I thought when we went to California, I said, okay, I'll get the audiobook and I'll listen to it on the plane. Yeah, it didn't work. I forgot the adapter. I got the new iPhone. You got to have a special adapter. Couldn't do that. So, but anyway, this week, finally, after about 3 months of her urging me to read the book, I started listening to it at work. And it was awesome. And I wanted to share some of that with you guys today. The book is by a pastor. His name is Erwin McManus. And the title of the book is The Last Arrow. That's the title. The Last Arrow. And I think it's an awesome book. I don't know, my wife says it is, but I'm only about halfway through it. So, so far it's an awesome book. I haven't got to the end yet, but so far it's awesome. And anyway, I encourage you just to pick it up and read it. You can get it online or whatever. But how do we live our life without regret? How do we live a life where we never settle? How do you and I step into a life with wonder in every moment? No matter what kind of life you've lived, what kind of journey you've been on, we're all in this together. We're all the same. There's this kind of, I don't know, for me, there's this kind of gnawing desperation to live a life that always seems to be just a little bit beyond my reach. Not quite there. Sometimes I think maybe we look at someone else's life or someone else's journey and we wonder, why can't that be mine? I wish that was my life. Elisha was talking with King Jehoash, I believe. And it's in 2 Kings 13:15 through 19. Elisha said, "Get a bow and some arrows." And he did so. "Take the bow in your hands," he said to the king of Israel. When he had taken it, Elisha put his hands on the king's hands. "Open the east window," he said, and he opened it. "Shoot," Elisha said, and he shot. "The Lord's arrow of victory, the arrow of victory over Aram," Elisha declared. "You will completely destroy the Arameans." Then he said, "Take the arrows." And the king took the arrows. Elisha told him, "Strike the ground." He struck the ground 3 times. The man of God was angry with him now and said, "You should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times. Then you would have defeated Aram and completely destroyed it. But now you will only defeat them 3 times." In this moment, the king had everything he wanted. Everything he had hoped for. Everything he ever longed for was about to happen. Elisha tells him to take the arrow and shoot it through the window, and he does. Elisha tells him to take the arrow and strike it against the ground. And he strikes it 3 times and stops. Elisha becomes angry. He says, "Why didn't you strike it 6 times? Now because you did not, you will not discover the fullness God has for you. You will only receive a partial portion of the life God has created for you." Did Elisha ever tell him, "Don't stop at 3"? It would have been so easy to keep on striking and to tell him, "It's going to matter, don't quit." But he doesn't. When the king quits, Elisha told him that he was when the king quits, Elisha holds him accountable for what he did not know. So many times in my life, I felt like I've been held accountable for things I didn't know to do. So I say, God, please tell me what to do. Have you ever done that? So you don't do what you're supposed to do, and it seems like the God, I gotta read this part because this is a little confusing. So you don't do what you're supposed to do, and it seems like the God who won't tell you what to do holds you accountable for not doing what he didn't tell you to do. You got that? It took me a while to wrap my head around that.
Sounds like a lot.
Okay, you guys are better than, you guys are smart.
We'll read it one more time.
Do it one more time? Okay, let me read it one more time. Thank you for being honest, Bruce. So you don't do what you're supposed to do, and it seems like the God who won't tell you what to do holds you accountable for not doing what he didn't tell you to do. It's a vicious cycle. But it seems Elisha knew. So if Elisha knew, then I can know too. And if Elisha knew, then the king could have known as well. So there's something in that moment that the king could not see, but Elisha could see. He had the eyes and to see the opportunity waiting in front of him. It's kind of like a Tom Brady moment. Oh, it's too bad. You don't know Tom Brady? Okay. He's a good quarterback. He may be the best quarterback that ever played the game. Every team out there is looking for a Tom Brady. But they can't see him. Even the Patriots didn't see him. They ran out of people to draft. Tom Brady went in the 6th round. That means every single team passed on him at least 5 times, some 6. He played for the University of Michigan. That's a good school. They got a good ball program. He threw 4 touchdown passes in the Orange Bowl against Alabama. That's quite a thing to take. And so he had what it takes, but nobody could see it. How many moments of life like that have you had in your life? But you keep believing that those moments can never be yours. You become bitter towards God, bitter towards the universe, bitter towards life. No one gave you the chance that they had. It's kind of like Michael Jordan. He was picked 3rd in the draft, which is pretty good. That's good to go 3rd. That's pretty high, but there was some guy, I bet nobody remembers, Sam Bowie, went 1st. He beat Michael Jordan in the draft. He was a 1st round draft pick. Now the Portland Trail Blazers picked Sam Bowie. They could have had Michael Jordan. Anybody even hear of the Portland Trail Blazers? I mean, they could have had MJ. But they didn't. They picked Sam Bowie. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's no MJ. So we are all missing the moments that God has for us. And if that's the case for you, what's going to change tomorrow? If you can look back on your life and know you've missed some incredible opportunities, and I know I have, what's going to change for you for the opportunities yet to come? That's why it's so important to save nothing for the next life and to reframe the way we live our life today. So the chapter in the book I'm going to focus on is the author titled the chapter, Set Your Past on Fire. So a lot of people confuse setting your past on fire with burning bridges. But we need to be careful not to burn bridges that one day we may have to cross back over.
Amen.
But there are some bridges you're to never cross back over. I wonder what's holding you back right now from moving forward. What does God need right now to turn into ashes and dust in your life so that you're free to move forward? Sometimes to set your past on fire means you need to break free from what others expect. We often live our lives being what others want us to be, or what we think they expect us to be, instead of who God has made us to be and we're supposed to be. There's a difference, of course, between setting your past on fire and burning bridges. Burning bridges is about setting other people on fire. And I just don't think that's a good idea. That's why, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, don't get me wrong, setting anybody on fire. I'm talking about burning away everything that should remain in your past and not be taken into your future. If you want a different life, if you want to give up the life you have, there are things and even people that you'll have to leave behind to keep moving forward. But you'll never have to leave behind those people that you love and that are for you and in your corner. So let's look back at the beginning of Elisha's story to see exactly what it was that shaped him so that he could see the opportunity before him. Because I want that to happen in my life. I don't want to miss those opportunities, and I want that for you too. So in 1 Kings 19 through 21, it reads, So Elijah went from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, and he was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to kiss, and he was driving, I got lost, I should have made this bigger. And he was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to him and threw his cloak around him. Now, I didn't know the meaning of that, and I had to look that up, because it seems to have some significance. In that time, the cloak was made of animal fur. And when someone like Elijah, a prophet, put their cloak on you, that meant that he was turning the reins over to you, that you were to come follow and you were to take his place. And so anyway, I just had to throw that in there because I had no idea. I'm like, okay, what's the significance of that? I didn't get it. And right after that, no words are spoken. And right after that, Elijah just keeps walking. He just throws his cloak over the guy and keeps going. And so Elisha gets down off his yoke and oxen and whatever and runs after him and says, hey, wait for me. He said, let me go back and kiss my mother and father goodbye, and then I will come with you. So obviously he knew what it meant. This is really the beginning of Elisha's story. And it's an abrupt beginning. And we know nothing about it. We don't know any history. The Bible doesn't give us any history. It doesn't give us any backstory. We just get this little glimpse into the beginning. So Elisha was out just doing what he does, doing life. He's plowing the fields. Now Elijah comes up, interrupts him, plowing the fields, or better yet, God interrupts him because God told Elijah to do this. And he calls him on a new journey. This is the way God works. He's not interested in your schedule. He's not interested in fitting into your plans. He'll interrupt your life whenever and wherever you are, even if it's in the middle of plowing the field, when he's ready to do something in your life. So it's up to you if you're going to make room for God or just politely invite him to give you room. So Elisha was hard at work plowing the fields, hard at work doing life. Wouldn't it be great if God would give us an advance notice for when our lives are going to change? A lot of us are so indebted to our past that we've mortgaged our future. And many of us are trapped by our decisions that we've made in the past. It'd take us years to unwind or unravel that tangled web we weaved already. But God's made it easy to free us just to move into the future we long for. If God interrupted your life right now, what would you have to do? Well, God, I think I'd say I need a little more time. I think I need about 3 months. I need 3 months to live an extraordinary life because I need to wrap up my ordinary life. I need to wrap up my meaningless life and get it all together before I can go live an extraordinary life. It's kind of like he was talking about in the message here earlier about how, we've got to wait and we put it off, and when this happens and when that happens, and then we'll be ready, and then I'll do this. When we have the kids, when the kids are out of the house, when I got a better job. We should, but we will in a moment.
Okay.
Thanks for your support. Throwing me off guard. I should probably do that because you should always listen to your wife. I've learned that. So, anyway, Elisha left his oxen and ran after Elijah. Who does that? You're just working, doing your thing. God puts a cloak over you. And the guy who invites you doesn't say anything. He just keeps walking. And Elisha has to stop plowing and run after him because Elijah's not even giving him time to think about what just happened. He didn't even have a second to think about it. Isn't God like that? You see, Elijah's been following God, so he knows that God can't be put on hold. He knows you can't tell God to wait. He keeps moving forward because that's what God is doing, and he's allowing Elisha to decide. Hey, buddy, are you coming or are you staying? Some of us are way too busy living life to have time to live the life God created us to live. And we wanted God to intervene. I want God to intervene in my life. But he just keeps moving through. And sometimes we're not ready to move with him. I wonder how many times God has interrupted us and we had to say, we're not ready right now. I've got this or that I need to do first. So Elisha runs after Elijah and he says, let me kiss my mother and father goodbye, and then I will come to you. Elijah responds, go back. What have I done to you? So Elisha left him and went back. It was kind of a very empathetic conversation. He didn't say, I know you love your mom and dad. I know you're going to miss them. Yeah, take your time. Take all the time you need. Go back. Say your goodbyes. And then, come on and join me. He didn't say that. Because we don't have all the time in the world. Our time, we're burning up life every second we live in indecision. We want God to invite us in a new future, but we're so busy holding on to the past, we don't have time to step into his future. Some of us need to set our past on fire because our past is burning up our future. A lot of times when we talk about breaking free from our past, we talk about the negative things in our past. And believe me, we all have some negative things. Some things we need to set on fire. There's some very flammable materials that we try to carry with us into the future. Bitterness, wounds from our past, unforgiveness, regret. Just set them on fire. You can't move into the future carrying those things with you. Some of us have so much fear because of the failures of our past. We just need to set that on fire. But strange enough, that wasn't Elisha. He wasn't being held back by failure. He was very successful. He owned land. He had a job. He had 12 oxen. He was a wealthy man. He had a life he was living, and actually, it was this life that he was living that could steal his future. So if you think failure's hard to burn and leave in the past, try success. I know I'd like to. If you think poverty is hard to leave behind, try wealth. I think I'd like to try that one too. Some of us can't let go of our past because we're terrified our future will not be as good as our past. Nothing can own you more than your past successes. They can hold you under more powerfully than your failures. So Elijah told Elisha, you go back and take care of your past. I'm just inviting you to the future. So in 1 Kings 19:21, Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the plow equipment to cook the meat, and he served the people. He fed everyone in the village, all of his oxen. And they ate. And then he set out to follow Elijah and become Elijah's servant. He literally set his past on fire.